How long should a human go without food? When I was a kid, I heard the tale of a man who traveled the desert for 40 days and 40 nights without anything to eat, which sounds pretty miraculous when my only prayer was to make it 40 minutes without thinking about dessert. If there is one thing that Jesus, Muhammad, and Buddha all share in common, it's the practice of fasting. And as more people from the Hollywood Hills to Silicon Valley start fasting to lose weight and improve clarity, this ancient religious tradition is quickly becoming a modern health trend.
Fasting. I'm dying to talk to you about this.
I eat for 8 hours and I fast for 16.
I can feel the difference.
When I started researching nutrition just a few years back, fasting was thought to slow your metabolism, cause eating disorders, and ruin your health. The common knowledge was that you want to eat 7 small meals per day. Now I'm going 7 days without any meals to learn how it affects me mentally and physically. We know that fasting provides some benefits, including autophagy, our body's natural process for repairing damaged cells and preventing aging. But we don't know how long we need to fast for these benefits to begin, or at what point the rise in health begins the fall towards impending death. There are a lot of unknowns about fasting, all of which were unknown to me because I did zero research before getting started. I don't want my experience to be biased by my expectations of what's supposed to happen. Besides, what do I need to know? All you have to do is not eat. How hard can that be? I went on a date with this woman once and she was a raw vegan and told me that she felt bad about eating plants because they have some consciousness of their own. So she's hoping that one day she can get to the point where she's a breatharian. Yeah, breathing the air, getting all of her nutritional value from the water that she drinks and the air that she breathes. And I thought, this is the only thing crazier than a carnivore diet. Well, I already dipped my toes into the deep end of crazy, so now I guess I'm going full-blown insane because that's basically the diet that I'm going to be following. This fast might be infecting my mind more than I thought because I've been wondering all morning when the first hunger pains were going to hit, and it's 10:30 a.m. and they are finally starting to arrive. I'm not sure if I'm willing this into existence because last night I ate so much food. I decided to make a giant plate and it doesn't look all too appealing. And I ended up gaining 2 pounds in an attempt to postpone the hunger pains for as long as possible so I could focus on what I need to get done before I'm distracted by the pain in my stomach. I can't eat any food, so instead I've just been sitting here. Eating ice cubes. It seems to be keeping me sane so far. Don't know if my dentist is going to appreciate it though. Like many past experiences, I should have recognized that the reason I was feeling hunger isn't because I'm actually hungry, but because I was trying to distract myself from all the work that I have to do, which is when my brain starts to look to food as a source of entertainment and distraction rather than an actual source of fuel. As soon as I got to my desk and got to work, I forgot about food for the next 4 to 5 hours. So far, I am loving this no food diet. I was able to concentrate on my work all day without ever having to think about preparing a meal. I can leave the house, go for a walk, and not worry about having to be back at any specific time to eat. And the best benefit of all, and I don't know why nobody's mentioned this, is that this diet is very cheap. I might even say it's less expensive than any diet that I've ever followed. All you gotta do is get tap water. It's 8:30 p.m. and the hunger pains seem to be diminishing. Now that the hunger pains are gone, I'm curious if I can make it out for a run with no food. Let's try it. Losing stamina and strength are 2 more concerns that I have about fasting. So before getting started, I tracked my time on a 5K run, as well as my repetitions on different bodyweight exercises to learn how I perform after 7 days without food. Just finished a 3K run. Didn't even really need to listen to music because I could just run to the grumbles in my stomach. Despite being incredibly hungry, that run didn't feel any more difficult than it usually would. But maybe this week my words will be the only food on the menu. I have these really thick calluses on my hands, and I always peel them off. Every time that I do it, I catch myself and I go, no, you're fasting. You can't even eat yourself. And even though I've been hungry all morning, I've still been focusing on what I need to get done without any real mental barriers. I thought that my brain would be slowing down by this point, but it seems like I'm just more focused than ever. It's almost like your mental diet affects your physical diet. The more garbage that I'm taking in through Netflix or through TV, the more junk food that I want stuffed down my throat. Whereas when I can't eat any food, all I want to do is work to distract myself from the fact that I can't be eating anything. One thing I definitely don't recommend doing when you're fasting, going to the grocery store. I don't really think I have a very good sense of smell, but now I can smell things from an aisle away. Afterwards, I learned that fasting increases sympathetic tone and noradrenaline, increasing your awareness and almost giving you a superhuman level of perception. I even seem more attuned to the sounds. And that's not the only superpower that I seem to be gaining. I'm recognizing that you just don't eat. You free up a lot of time in your day. The only point that I'm not loving it is right now when I finished 14 straight hours of work and would love to just have a steak and sit down and watch something on TV or just relax for the rest of the day. But since that's not an option, I'm gonna go for a run instead. 2 straight days of no food and 2 straight days of cardio. Can't beat that for fat loss. Maybe liposuction, but nothing natural. Is it a bad idea to be running for 2 straight days when I went 2 straight days without food and my hamstring cramped so bad that I thought I had to call an ambulance on myself? I feel my calves cramping again, so I guess we'll find out. I don't know whether I just woke up or if I'm still awake, but it's almost 3 a.m. and I can't sleep because my legs are basically vibrating with warning signs that they're going to break out into incredibly painful cramps at any moment. Before starting this fast, one of my concerns was that it was going to impair my sleep quality because normally if I try going to bed hungry, I have a harder time falling and staying asleep. And I was right, this fasting is reducing the time that I'm sleeping, but not because of the hunger. It's because I'm having insane leg cramps. Fasting causes your body to lose electrolytes like sodium and magnesium, so you should probably be taking salt and supplements if you want to avoid problems like crippling cramps. But I've never been good at taking advice, and I want to see what happens if I don't take any supplements, because our ancestors never had any, so I'm trying my own approach. I also have one other option that might be able to prevent me from taking any supplements, and that's bath salts. This contains magnesium. I guess the idea is that I just sit here and let the magnesium absorb through my skin. Seems like a pretty easy way to start getting distracted by the thoughts of food. I think the police force might be able to hire me to replace their drug dogs because I'm starting to be able to smell restaurants from a block away. The only problem is that I'm going to have a hard time chasing down a criminal if my legs can't carry me. Decided to grab a bike because my legs didn't seem to be carrying me too well on the walk. And I'm realizing now that a gentle incline is my new kryptonite. Seems strange because I would think that as you're not eating, your body would need to increase your energy output because you need to find some food. So it would tap into some reserves and give you some extra energy. Our bodies usually run on glucose, but when we're not eating any carbs, we switch to using ketones, which we can derive from dietary or stored fat. Guess that's not the case for me. Or I just haven't been on this fast for long enough. It takes some time for our bodies to switch fuel sources, which might account for the low energy levels in the early stages. The interesting thing about this fast is that it seems easier than it was to go on a diet because it's a very binary decision. Just having it in my mind that I'm not going to eat and making that commitment is making it easy to forget about the fact that I'm not eating. Last night I had a dream that I was in a movie theater eating an ice cream sandwich with cookie dough inside of it, and it was the best tasting thing that I've had in months. It's interesting what your brain can do when you're not providing it with its typical food. When I start standing up too quickly, the whole room fades to black. I have to kind of grab onto a wall to make sure I don't fall over. So that's probably not good. Fasting really makes you appreciate the simple things in life, like going for a walk. I'm realizing that I'm replacing food as a method of procrastination with walking and listening to health podcasts as a method of procrastination, which is probably a net gain. Taking a bath, which is something I never thought I would do. Got my Kindle here to keep me company. Brushing your teeth, which I'm doing more than ever. This toothpaste honestly tastes so good, it should be illegal. And flossing. And I probably don't need to floss because I'm not eating anything. The hunger pains aren't any worse than they were on day one. They actually diminished at certain points. Our stomachs produce a hormone called ghrelin, which makes us feel hungry. But the longer that you fast, the less ghrelin your stomach produces, which makes your appetite go down the longer that you're not eating. At least for the first few days. Hunger becomes like an itch, where as long as you don't scratch it, it kind of goes away. I initially did this because I didn't want my brain thinking about food as a source of entertainment or reward, but now I'm thinking that maybe I should be thinking about food as a reward. Our ancestors would hunt an animal, and a successful hunt meant that they would eat as their reward. Most of us aren't hunting anymore, but we do need to get things done. Maybe we shouldn't be giving ourselves food until we accomplish the tasks that we've set out for ourselves for that day. And if we don't get what we need to do done, then we just don't eat. There doesn't seem to be any consequences to that. My productivity isn't draining, so the following day we could attack those same problems with just as much energy despite the lack of food, and even more enthusiasm about the tasks because we know at the end of the day we'll be giving ourselves food if we get what we need to do done. I think that might be how I start moving forward in life. Don't eat until I've accomplished my tasks, and then even healthy food will feel rewarding. As fast as getting my head back in the game, I feel like I'm unlocking superpowers as I keep going because I have no food, but increased focus. Our bodies increase cardiac output and blood flow to the digestive tract when we eat. When we fast, more of this blood flow is available for cognitive function, which might explain why ancient Greek scholars, including Pythagoras, required their students to fast before lessons. But at the same time, the improved function that seemed to be happening the longer that I went, I think has hit its peak and is now on the downward spiral, because I am starting to feel like my brain is not operating as well as I would like it to be, and even talking to this camera is almost impossible. Some of the lessons I'm learning from this are that I can replace negative habits with good ones. Rather than watching YouTube for an hour, I can take a bath and read a book. Rather than snacking throughout the day, I can take breaks and go for walks. Picked up my grass-fed beef for next week. Probably shouldn't pick this up until tomorrow, but maybe I subconsciously wanted to torture myself a little bit. What is that thing? Oh man. This is the real torture now. Actually, I think I crave meat more than I'm craving ice cream right now, but it's still looking pretty damn good.
It is very good.
I've slept for 4 hours per night for the last 2 nights, and I woke up today feeling fine. I mean, if I can operate on 7 days without food, then clearly I can operate on a few nights with minimal sleep. This experience is teaching me that we think that we need the perfect situation in order to operate at our peak capacity, but that's clearly not the case. The more productive that I am, the more tired that I feel, the better I want to eat. The mental diet and the physical diet are strongly correlated with one another. Now I'm gonna go do some pull-ups, dips, and go for a run and see how my performance has changed after not eating for 7 days. Kept completely stable across 4 exercises after 7 days without food. I don't know if we need food to survive anymore. I started to think it's better for your stomach. I started to think it's better for your productivity, your health, and your bank account to just give up food. Last thing to do before eating is go for a run. I want to see how my time compares to the week before fasting. And I'm a little bit nervous about it because my legs have been cramping so bad that I wanted to call an ambulance on myself, but I have to make this sacrifice to know what changes happened. Probably almost 3/4 of the way done. Starting to feel like I'm gonna pass out. Finished my last task before I can eat, and my run time definitely went down. By the end, I was completely dragging my feet and didn't know if I was gonna make it home. If you don't see the next video, reference this to find my corpse. I think the lower runtime and the second half exhaustion is showing that endurance activities are affected more by fasting because you don't have that muscle glycogen. But again, I'm not a scientist. All I know is that this fast had less negative consequences than I imagined. I'm shocked by how little excitement I have about this meal right now. If anything, I feel less hungry than I was in any previous day. I think that I might have received my reward for this week's mission, a better relationship with food, seeing it as fuel rather than pleasure. As energy rather than reward. First steak after 7 days of no food. It's also my first grass-fed steak, so I'm curious about how the taste is going to differ from grain-fed beef. Almost tastes like it's from a different animal. I don't know if that's just because I've become a different animal after not eating for 7 days, or if the taste is actually vastly different. It's honestly not even close to as tasty. Now that I know I can survive without food, I know that I can survive with food that doesn't taste ideal. As long as it provides me with the ideal nutrition to perform optimally and achieve my goals. This fast is teaching me how to structure my life, replacing bad habits with good ones, vices with virtues. Maybe that's why every religion has a tradition of fasting. It was definitely the most spiritual journey of my life. Almost 2 decades of indulging in temptations to avoid responsibilities made me realize that I have some toxins I need to clear out of my system, and I should probably develop a healthier relationship to food, which is exactly what this fast did. With my biggest concerns of losing muscle, lacking any focus, and overwhelming myself with hunger not turning out to be issues, I'm definitely going to be making extended fasts a regular part of my life. But even fasting experts acknowledge that we don't know the right fasting protocol. All that we can do is continue experimenting to learn what works, which is exactly what I plan on doing over the next year. Testing different variations, including alternate day fasting, fasting 2 days a week, 7 days a quarter, 5 days a month, so that I can find out what works best. I like the idea of fasting and feasting because despite my voracious appetite returning, my metabolism never slowed down. I'm still the lightest I've been in well over a decade while eating as much as I want whenever I want. The one caveat being that whatever I'm eating is coming from a cow. Now I'm building out my diet from the foundation, one food at a time, starting with beef because it's supposed to be the most nutrient-dense food on the planet. If you want to follow along as I investigate the nutritional profile profile and evolutionary origin of each food while experiencing its impact on me, trying to find the optimal diet, then subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching, and I'm excited to continue sharing this journey with you.